it's me, Shannon Fralish from shannonfralish.com. Today we're going to create this card. It's using the Quite Curvy Variety Bundle, which was available November 3rd through the end of 2020 as a fun bundle suite. We have the Quite Curvy stamp set and the coordinating dies. These will be available in January through June mini catalog, but as a kind of fun incentive bonus, so to speak, right now they are also including the Curvy Christmas stamp set, which coordinates with the dies from the Quite Curvy bundle, and also this fun pack of 6x6 DSP in it's sort of a classic Christmas colors. Cherry Cobbler, Sahara Sand, and Shaded Spruce. But I have to say that some of the designs are definitely not Christmas only kinds of themes. So it's kind of a fun, really fun super bundle to get. So right now I'm going to walk you through making this pretty little Christmas card. It's part of our card class to go, November 2020, if you were lucky enough to get in on that. So this is the card we're going to make. And in your kit, you got an envelope filled with these items, except you are using your own DSP, and this is the pattern that we're going to use here. Okay, so I'm going to take out the items. So DSP, you're using it from your own stash from your bundle. Here's some really pretty textured kind of dotted ribbon that's included. A textured, and then you'll get the envelope, obviously, Shaded Spruce card base, and that is a top fold landscape card, as well as the interior panel that will go inside your card at the end. Okay, so I'm going to put those pieces aside for now. You will also need a piece of Whisper White cardstock from your stash, and you're going to use that to create this panel right here. So 5 1/4 wide, that's real important, and then about 3 1/4 inches tall. Okay, so your cardstock is going to look something like this. Okay, it's 5 1/4 inches wide. We'll be using the really cute little dotted curvy die, which looks like this. And remember that on this side of the die, which shows all the dots, it's the cutting edge. There is an edge along this part that is more pronounced. That's the cutting edge of the die. Down here, there isn't one, so this part will not cut. So we are going to lay our die like this on our white cardstock. Okay, so let's go and do that. I'm going to run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, or you can use a similar die cutting machine, and we'll get this this look, and then we'll build onto it with our stamps. And without using any funky things like dragger sheets, etc., my die cut just fine. There was that one right there, the one little stray guy. I just went like that and pulled it off. So there we go. That's our card front, the stamping panel. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to leave the height alone for now and just build from here up, because at the top we're going to just put these really pretty little Sahara Sand snowflakes, and then when we're ready at the end we can just trim off some of the top so that we want to be able to gauge how much of this pretty DSP we want to show and how much around that mat we want to show. Okay, so let's get started on the stamping. Okay, I'm going to use my stamp positioner for this project. You can use stamp blocks, that's perfectly fine. I'm just real comfortable with my stamp positioner. I am going to first work on, I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to put down this tree line here, this little curvy tree line, and I'm actually going to use the color combination that was in the DSP is Cherry Cobbler, Shaded Spruce, and Sahara Sand. But in this card, this particular card, I'm kind of going for the real red. I substituted real red for cherry cobbler. And on this particular tree line, I'm not using black. I'm going to go ahead and use shaded spruce. And then I will use my Stampin' Blends to color in the tree foliage and the trunks. So let me go ahead and grab my shaded spruce ink. I'm going to place my stamping panel into the, let's see. I know that my my tree stamp may go a little wide, so I'm going to give myself some room here. Put some magnets up here. Get out my, from the Curvy Christmas, I'm going to go ahead and get out this curvy tree laying. And lay it down so that it mimics the curve from my die. Okay, so I don't want it to be, I'm gonna kind of, if you can see on yours, a little groove gets made with the die right here, which is kind of cool because I'm gonna try to line my stamp up with that groove. I don't want to go any further down, and if it doesn't go exactly, I'm okay with that too. So I've got it pretty much there. I am going to shut the door, pick up my stamp, and then I'm going to get this over here where I can reach it and use shaded spruce ink. Okay, so I'm just gonna lightly tap my ink pad along the stamp, knowing that I am probably going to get a little bit of extra ink on the side off of my paper, but that's okay. It wipes up with just a damp cloth or a damp chamois. Shut my ink pad so I don't have any accidents. All right, then I'm going to close the door. Press. There we go. And lift it up. It looks great. Yay! All right, so I'm going to get my trusty little chamois. I'm just going to lift this up gently here and wipe off any ink that got on the side of my positioner. Then I'm going to clean off my stamp, and we're going to move on to the next stamp, which will be the sentiment. All right, so we're going to use, again, from the same Christmas, here we go, from the same Christmas set, we're going to use Thinking of You at Christmas. Okay. So here it is. I'm just going to pull it off, and I am going to use real red ink with this. Okay, I think that's really striking. It really sticks out. I like it. Let's see. So I'm going to kind of pull this down. I want it to be above the trees, not too close to the trees. All right. So about there. All right. I'm going to shut the door. Pick it up. Again, I just want to make sure I'm straight. And then I will go ahead and use real red to ink this sentiment up. Okay. Remember, I changed it up. I substituted real red instead of the cherry cobbler, just for fun. And plus I had the fun ribbon in my stash. Okay, I admit it. I'll keep it clean. And then I'm going to shut the door, give a little press. And there's my sentiment. Perfect. All right. I'm going to clean off my stamp. And yes, red will stain your clear photopolymer stamps. And you know what? It's perfectly fine. It does absolutely no damage whatsoever to the product at all. It just changes the color. It will stamp clean and with whatever color ink you use next. I'm putting back my stamp because they're clear and they might be hard to find if I don't keep them where I think I put them. Okay, so now the last thing to do with the stamping is to add the little snowflakes here. I think these are so fun. They're very whimsical snowflakes. And I'm going to use Sahara sand for those. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to use a block for those little snowflakes because they're so random. I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to use just a tiny block that I happen to have in my stash, and I'm going to grab the fun little snowflake, which is right here, and plop it on. I'm going to use Sahara sand, like I said. Now, I have to admit that Sahara sand can be a little bit dark. So what I'm going to do is pull in a piece of scrap paper, just copy paper that I have left over. And I'm going to do the second generation or stamping off technique. Okay, so I ink up my snowflake, and I'll show you what it looks like at the first generation. That's pretty dark. I don't want it to look like that, so here's the second generation. And that's a little bit light. And you know how I can adjust that? When I do my first stamp, I won't press so hard. I'm just going to stamp off and add it there. Okay? Got some gooey. All right. Sometimes less is more. Coloring in our trees here. So I am going to use my light soft suede for the trunks, and I'm going to use my light just jade for the foliage of the trees. Okay, I'm going to use the fine tip end, and again, since they are such small spaces to color, I'm not going to try to press down and color. I'm just going to lightly dab in the color, and I do that because these are alcohol-based markers, and they tend to bleed, so I'm going to let them do their job. I'm going to let them bleed down, and it will fill in the space. That's perfect. Okay, so now let's work on the rest of the card front, okay? So we're going to, this will be our first layer matte onto our base, our card base. So that will go on just like this. This was already prepared for you in your kit, or you can create one on your own. We'll cut this DSP to 5 1/4 wide by about 1.5 inches high. So here is our DSP that we'll put along the bottom here. And again, if it's a little wide, we can always trim off the sides. We're going to add this here. And that leaves a little bit of the textured embossed folder there. So before we get everything all stuck down, I think, well, actually we can adhere these pieces to the mat, and then we will tie the bow onto this piece, and then we'll adhere it all to the card front, okay? So I'm just going to use a Stampin' Seal product, just an adhesive tape. Okay, we'll adhere this about, let's see, maybe 1/4 inch from the bottom. I'm going to just line it up to the left side. It's kind of my MO. And there we go. And then we will adhere flat down. We're going to put this panel like that, and there's about 1/2 inch from the top there. Okay, just a flat. Okay, lining up. I kind of use my grid marks, and that's about 1/2 inch from the top. Well, maybe I'm going to go a little less. Maybe somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 there. All right, so we've got that on there, and now I'm going to go ahead and tie my ribbon around here. Now, let me tell you something you could have, and I might suggest that you maybe cut a little bit off of the top of your white stamping panel first, just if you want more of the red textured embossing folder to show. It's your choice. So I'm going to go ahead. We've got plenty of ribbon here. I'm going to tie a bow, and actually I'm going to tie a knot. All right. So there we go. And I'm going to trim off the ends, the tails of the ribbon at an angle. You have extra ribbon left over if you want to use it later. All right. And then I always like to secure my knot with a glue dot, just so it doesn't shift around too much, the ribbon. Take pick tool, grab a glue dot. I kind of make it a taco shape on my tool, and then just go ahead and place it behind on the back side of the knot. Gotta get it off with it. Take a pick tool. All right, then I can maneuver it with my fingers and just kind of set it down where I want it. There we go. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and adhere the finished panel to the card front. And again, just using Stampin' Seal-like product. Give it a bit, and then I kind of like to add a little bit over the ribbon. Run it over there. And I'm checking the back, just a little here. I'm just gonna trim that off. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just gonna apply, looking for the same amount of space on all sides, and press it down. There you go. It is that simple. Isn't that pretty? So you've got the little gentle light snowflakes and just the pretty little curvy textures going on. All right, so that's our Thinking of You at Christmas.